To belt or not to belt? That is the question of today's video. Today, I am going to do a deep dive, a comprehensive guide, so to speak, on belts. I can't believe I just said that sentence out loud. Is this the kind of content we need right now? I don't know. I will let you answer that existential question. What I do know is that the more we all know how to maximize what's in our closet so that we love what we have and we get creative with it, the less we will want to shop and the less we will overconsume. So let's get into it. I'll be talking about styling belts, as always, from the lens of elements of style. Things like how to use them to change silhouette, how they affect proportions, texture, color, and how they just change the style of a look. And of course, as always, these are not rules or hard and fast things that work for everybody. I think that instead these are just ideas that hopefully you can use as a jumping off point to get creative with what you already have. I also have a very exciting announcement about a very particular belt, one that I have co-created with my friends over at Brave Leather in Canada. They're a fantastic, ethical, slow fashion company who I've worked with for a while, so excited to jump on in. Let's go. Let's start with how a belt affects the overall vibe of a look. So this is kind of like the description, the feeling. Ultimately, when you add a belt to any outfit, you are adding more visual weight. It's an extra element. Take this look, for example. It's just a very basic outfit, but when you add a belt, tuck in the shirt, and have a really elevated shoe, all of a sudden this look feels polished and pulled together. Versus when you're not wearing a belt with it and the shirt is a little bit loosely untucked, the whole thing feels a little bit softer, more undone. So the first question that you have to ask yourself is how much visual weight, how polished and pulled together do you want your look to feel? And that's going to determine whether or not you wear a belt. And speaking of belts, how do you like this one that I'm wearing now, but also the one that's in the example? I hope you like it. I co-created this belt with my friends over at Brave Leather. I am so happy with it, with how it turned out. The reason why I wanted to partner with Brave is because I had been looking for a black belt that had a little bit more flair, but was still kind of polished and classic, and I wanted something that I knew would be well crafted and made to last. I couldn't find anything that I was looking for on the secondhand market, and at the same time, I always love sharing amazing Canadian companies that are doing really cool things. So I'm really happy that Scott and his team decided to say yes to collaborate with me on creating this belt in particular. I figured if I was looking for a belt with these characteristics that maybe some of you were too. And if you're not familiar with Brave, they are a Canadian company. They're based out of Toronto and all of their belts are made in Toronto. They have a nice small staff that stays year over year because Scott pays everyone on his team above the minimum wage in Canada, and their leather is sourced from the US and vegetable tanned in Italy. Their leather is Leather Working Group certified. For me, longevity is the most important part of slow fashion. That's one of my biggest values. So if I know I'm going to have an item for the next 20, 30, 50 years even, then that's what's important to me. And given how much I love and wear my Fia belt from Brave Leather, which is still wearing really beautifully and looks fantastic, I know that these Brave Leather belts are gonna last quite a long time. I really wanted something that was classic, that would work with everything in my closet, but that also had like a little bit of flair. So that's why I went for the embossed leather, and it's also why I went for a square buckle, but with a little bit of that rounded edge. I didn't want anything that was too sharp because I often already wear a lot of structured pieces. So I felt like this was a really nice balance. Like the rounded square edges can kind of work no matter what your style vibe is. And because it's black, it can still work with both neutrals and different colors. And it just adds a little bit of shine to your outfits. I've been wearing this belt for the past little while, just testing it out, seeing how it's been wearing and how I can style it. And I have to say, it does make my like basic and classic items feel a little bit fresh. I will leave a link in the description box if you are interested in adding a belt, if you have a gap in your closet, or you can always bookmark it for later. I never ever want any of my collaborations to make you feel as though you have to have something right away. I also have a discount code, which is continuous. I hope you like it. Thank you again to Brave for being open to doing this with me. It's kind of neat to be able to create something that perfectly fits into what you were looking for. Okay, so going back to the style vibe, just as much as a belt can add a little bit of polish, I also think choosing a different style of belt can add an edge to a look. When I wear this belt for the same outfit, because of the roundness of the buckle and the kind of worn thickness of the leather on this belt, it does feel a little bit tougher, maybe adds a little bit more of an edge to a look. And the same thing goes with, you know, a lighter belt like my Fia that I have could add, because of the thickness and the color, maybe it adds something that feels a little bit more like folksy, a little bit more artsy. So no matter what kind of belt you add, I think it's important to remember that it adds another visual element. It adds visual weight. Let's talk about silhouettes and proportion. And again, these are just ideas. They're definitely not hard and fast rules. When it comes to silhouette, I think you can use a belt in two places to create or add to your already existing curves: the waist and the hips. The most obvious place that we think of using a belt to change up the silhouette of a look is at the waist. You can use it to cinch a dress, a blazer, or you can pair it with high-waisted bottoms like trousers and jeans and all that fun stuff. If you want to bring even more of a focal point to the waist using a belt, then you could choose a belt in a contrasting color to the outfit that you're wearing underneath. If you like the idea of waist definition, but you don't love drawing the eye to your midsection, something that you could consider would be to wear, you know, like a more fitted base outfit, add a belt at your waist, and then add a blazer or a long cardigan or even just a shirt worn open in a contrasting color over top. What this is going to do is still draw the eye to the waist and give you that nice focal point, but it's actually going to make your waist look smaller than what it is, because the eye is seeing the smaller portion of the belt within these two sort of lengthwise columns. So this, you kind of get the best of both worlds. If you want that waist definition, but you don't want the silhouette of your body to actually be an hourglass shape. In terms of proportion, if you are longer waisted or you have a long torso, so the distance between your shoulders and your natural waist is pretty long in comparison to your legs, then a thicker belt is usually better if you want to use it at your natural waistline, because you've got so much real estate to cover, it's not going to shorten you. Whereas if you're short-waisted, a standard width, which is usually about 1.5 inches, or a thinner belt might look a little bit better. You can also use a belt to accentuate or create the illusion of wider hips. So by wearing a belt at the widest part of your lower body, this can be really fun, gives you a really cool like 70s inspired vibe, which I think is great. However, it's just important to pay attention again to the proportions and what that's doing to your body. If, for example, you have a long torso like me, it's important to keep the line going on the bottom half of your body and not break it up any more than you already have. Because you're drawing the attention down to your hips, the eye is already going down, and you don't want to break up the lower third or part of your body even more. So you can see here in this example, when I'm wearing a lower waisted belt with a cropped bottom, my legs look as short as they actually are versus when I have kept that line going via a pointed shoe. You could also do this just with a nude shoe or something with a heel, just to give you that nice nice lengthening effect on the bottom. Finally, when it comes to just the overall styling and like things like color and texture and how a belt can affect your outfit in these ways, I think a belt, even if you are working with a very neutral closet, can add color and texture. So those are like the two kind of elements that I see the belt playing the biggest sort of role. So the first is, if you are wearing, you know, a monochromatic outfit, a belt is a really cool way to add an interesting hit of color. If you are petite, then you might want to do a belt that is a little bit thinner or a standard width so that it doesn't like take up too much real estate on your body. You could also, rather than do a contrasting belt, work with something that is more in line with the color palette of the base outfit. More recently, the kind of traditional way of styling a belt to match your shoes or your bag has become a little bit more popular. It makes the outfit feel, I would say, more traditional, more classic. And of course, adding a belt with some interesting texture can work wonders for a monochromatic look. It just gives the look a little bit more depth. And then of course there's just the general boldness of your belt and how it plays into the rest of the accessories with your look. For me, in general, the boldness of the belt will determine how you balance or style the rest of the accessories in your outfit. So the bigger and bolder the belt, the more minimal I'll go on the rest of my accessories. So that is what I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Brave for collaborating with me on this belt. I hope you like it. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. If you learned something new, hit subscribe if you haven't already. I have tickets to my next live Shop Your Closet studio. It is on Saturday, November 5th at 1 p.m. It's a really fun event. We shop the closets of two really wonderful people, and you get to see styling in real time, and it also just gives you a great jumping off point to shop your closet. I hope to see you there. Thank you for being here and watching. I will see you in the next slow fashion video. Ciao!